IONIQ 6 got its official reveal last week, and some of you have been wondering why we haven't covered it on the channel yet. Well, apart from being out of town at Formula E in New York, the other reason revolves around the fact that pretty much everyone on the team had to sit down and digest the presentation that came out with the IONIQ 6. And while the car itself is a vehicle we would love to spend some time with, and frankly can't wait to drive, the messaging surrounding the launch event gave us all virtual hives. Advertising cars to customers is a big business. Not only have automakers, ad agencies and salespeople traditionally worked hard to set their latest new hotness apart from the competition by claiming that their new car is the fastest, sexiest and most desirable vehicle in existence that you absolutely must categorically own.
Jaguar. At last. Something beautiful you can truly own.
But also that said car is so smart, so amazing, that it will do everything you've ever wanted it to do, elevate your social standing, make you more appealing to love interests, and make you a better human being as well. All, of course, by appealing to your own ego and your own inner aspirations.
Afraid you'll fall in love?
Something like that.
Well, I can see you have good taste. This is the one. 1962 Coupe de Ville. Does everything but make breakfast.
And for as long as cars have been around, that approach has often worked, even if it required a second visit to get the paper signed.
You're back. I had a feeling. You want to take it for a drive?
Wayne, I would like to buy this car.
But as we have discussed multiple times on this channel, very few companies seem to understand how to advertise electric cars. Worse still, how to break electric cars out of the bubble that they've been stuck in for years. You know the one. The bubble where electric cars are being sold as weird.
The electric car is here.
Quirky.
Guys, this is the third time this week.
Or just something that you'll buy to get a literal bear hug. Luckily, it's changing. Automakers are starting to advertise EVs as cars first and foremost, and electric vehicles second. And that's something we firmly believe will help electric vehicles shake off the weird vibes that automakers have been hell-bent on advertising their cars with for years. Not so long ago, Chevrolet posted a half-decent ad for the Chevrolet Bolt EUV with a tie-in with Disney in which fun and enjoyment of the car and the Disney brand were front and centre. Its recent ads discussing driving an EV and tying that in with an expected parent are also not so bad. And Super Bowl ads published in recent years have been a mixture of fun, funny, and hopefully less cringe. But that certainly doesn't mean that automakers are comfortable with EVs, or indeed how they're going to be used. And I can't think of anything more demonstrative of that than the recent Hyundai IONIQ 6 reveal event. And while it's fair to say that reveal events are always going to be viewed less than the adverts that will come later, and will always be full of enough superlatives to fill any child's first dictionary, it's always expected that automakers don't go too far off the beaten track, or risk having someone mock them. And in the case of the Hyundai IONIQ 6 unveiling, there's quite a lot of mocking to be had, from the disconnect between who the design team and ad team thought would be driving its car, how they would use it, or how it will likely be used in the real world after launch. The narrative focused on 3 different future IONIQ 6 customers, all millennials, who were, according to the storyline, working together on a fashion show. So far, so good. The lead character, a fashion designer working on her latest fashion art collection using recycled materials, something she's apparently calling trashion art, was using her car to travel great distances in order to find just the right materials to reuse in her fashion. And we see her picking up various things from different places on her journey. Except then we see her return home, and instead of going back into her apartment or home, she kicks back in Hyundai's relaxation comfort seat and makes a drink in her car before falling asleep and dreaming of the Trashion show. Of course, this particular narrative is all to showcase the onboard vehicle-to-load capabilities and fully reclining seat that the IONIQ 6 shares with the IONIQ 5. And having just filmed with the IONIQ 5, I can say it is a great feature. But falling asleep in your car at home? Yeah, that's a bit weird. And that weirdness goes on, focusing on the animator/programmer, the Metaverse designer, who was helping the Trashion designer build a virtual set in the Metaverse for her show. Oh, sorry, I didn't tell you it was a virtual show. I'm so sorry. The character has a massive computer setup. I counted 6 screens, and we hear him explain how he constantly switches between the physical and the virtual world in his role at work. But then he talks about getting inspiration from the real world and sometimes needing to work away from his 6 computer screens, on his laptop, in his car of course, or in the middle of nowhere, with a camping table and chair he presumably carries with him, and his laptop everywhere he goes. The video even shows him using a virtual reality headset while parked up and still seated behind the steering wheel. Finally, there's the social media influencer who is also, surprise, surprise, a Hyundai IONIQ 6 owner. She betters the other 2 who were only sleeping and working on a laptop in their car and sets up the Hyundai optional powered tabletop in her car from where she does a complete live stream with compact camera, tripod and shotgun mic, all while sitting in the driver's seat. The stream is of course perfectly clear, despite the fact that her car is in what looks like an indoor garage. Not that I'm bitter or anything. That's never happened to any of our live streams. Anyway, we finally get to see the Trashion show, and it's all in the virtual world, and everyone looks like they're a Wii avatar with super low detail and very basic character modelling, and you can't actually see any of the detail in the real world clothes that we saw being made earlier on in the video. At least there are furries in it. But seriously, I just can't. I do not want to be disparaging here, but this was singularly the most bizarre product launch video I have seen. In fact, the car almost plays second fiddle to the very strange narrative. It left everyone on the team frustrated and angry about how a car company was going out of its way to seemingly target this car to a tiny, whiny group of people. And that's a shame, because on paper the IONIQ 6 looks like it's going to be a great car. I'm not sure how I feel about the design yet. The rear end is actually not so bad if you ignore the rear light cluster, and the front end is suitably sleek for a car that's setting itself up as a higher-end luxury sedan. There's 800-volt DC quick charging as standard, meaning super fast recharging on the road. There's well over 380 miles, 611 kilometres of range on the WLTP test cycle from the largest 77 kWh battery pack. There's a sub-5-second sprint time for the all-wheel drive variant, and an interior that's almost identical to the interior in the IONIQ 5, tweaked slightly for the IONIQ 6 sedan's styling. Having spent some time with the IONIQ 5, I think that's honestly something that we should look forward to. Yet, Hyundai appeared so preoccupied in setting up the IONIQ 6 as a space that you will want to spend time in when you're not driving, that it missed everything else. It wants a space for you to relax and unwind in, a space to work in, and a space to socialise in. And sadly, it's not alone. More and more automakers are picking up this narrative to sell their cars as a place to live rather than a place to go to get somewhere else. And I don't actually know anyone who views their car in that way, including people who have been forced to live in their car. And don't go telling me that this is a generational thing either. I've played this video a half dozen times to millennials, and their reaction has been pretty similar to mine. A feeling of frustration and othering. How many millennials can afford a brand new car? Least of all a $50,000 car, which is where we personally think the IONIQ 6 will be priced from. Most millennials I know are struggling to make ends meet because they're being forced to spend more in rent payments than an actual mortgage would cost, but they can't save for a mortgage because they're too busy paying rent. Pretending that they are the target customers for this car is short-sighted and frankly alienates them. And by ignoring older buyers, who, let's face it, are the ones most likely to be able to afford this car, Hyundai risks losing out on legitimate customers. And that's a double shame, because in its 6-minute press launch video shared on its press portal, the car looks much more useful for any prospective customer than it did in its digital launch. Yet Hyundai and others are continuing to chase after mythical ideal customers that don't actually exist with these terribly off-brand flights of fancy. Instead of going out of its way to market a competent, compelling car to customers through specs and traditional imagery, mentoring features that might actually sway buyers' decisions, like that vehicle to load and super quick rapid charging, and backing it up with its well-known comprehensive warranty, Hyundai has managed to create a digital world premiere that I would argue leaves the audience confused and unsure if the car is for them or not. Which shows us what? That automakers are still falling over themselves trying to appeal to digital connected buyers, when in reality most car buyers want to know just 3 basic questions: how far, how fast, and how much. And for those other features, well, either give customers real-world examples of how they can use the vehicle, like the Ford F-150 Lightning's showcase of vehicle to home, or make a themed ad like the Star Wars tie-in that Volkswagen recently published to showcase its ID Buzz. Or, you could just go back to basics, show people the car in motion, and help them imagine what their ideal life could be like if they only committed to buying. And when all else fails, default to animals. Everyone likes animals, even robotic ones, right, Kia? How did you feel about the IONIQ 6 world premiere? Did it feel disconnected and weird? Or is it innovative, different, and on point? Watch it and let me know below. That's it for today, and get off my lawn, you punks! If you liked the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and sharing it with your friends. And don't forget to leave your thoughts below or in our free to join Discord chat room. There are links in the video description. And if you really liked today's video, why not leave us a super thanks? It's easy to do, and everything you do send goes towards helping us make great content. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel and our other channel, Transport Evolved Take 2, and give the bell a gentle ding to make sure you're told when our next video goes live. Thanks on behalf of the entire crew go out to everyone who makes this channel possible. That includes everyone who supports us on Patreon and YouTube, as well as those of you who just watch and share the video. If you are a supporter at the charged up level, you'll see your name right here on my right hand side. And if you just joined and your name is not on the list, we're sorry, we currently render our list every week or so, and sometimes our videos are produced a few days or weeks in advance. Thanks to our self-driving tier supporters, Chris Maxwell, Pedro Mil Pinheiro, Patrick Boyansky, Bennett Elder, Brian Newton, Dave Kitchen, Michael Goad, Ricky Leon, Andrew Martin, Guido Drahota, Brophy Wolf, Tazla in the Gong, Gordon C, Stephen O'Donoghue, Carl Hodgson, Anthony Coates, Jean Fellows, Dan Blair, Jim Burness, Chris Asanta, Chris and Michael Johnson, Peter Dillinger and Denny Hyde, and of course, super out of this world thanks to our Starman level supporters: Anonymous Freak, Marcel Wars, Reggie Watts, Roy Litwin, Joe Bresney, Reed R, JP Fagerback, Russ, Will Graylin, Matthew Drobnak, Blue Says Hello, Kevin Burrowbridge, John Lyons, Andrew Glenn, Paul Conway, Laura Reynolds, Ellery Hensley, and Ian. If you would like to be part of that amazing list, you can join Patreon in the link below, hit the join button to support us on YouTube, or show us your support through Bitcoin, Ko-fi, or our cool swag store. And if you are unable to support us financially, just know that watching the video and sharing it really does make a big difference to how our video performs online. Thanks for joining me, and as always, keep evolving! It's Mr. Ghost and Nikki making the videos. 'Cause you had a snip. You had a snip, so you're a good boy. Yes, you are.